Next, our featured speaker for this evening, Wholesaling from the Heart is her name of her presentation. Laura is a longtime and valued member of St. Louis Real Estate Investors Association, and we appreciate her coming on tonight to share some of what she's learned. I think she's doing pretty, from what I hear, she's done pretty well this last year. We've all been struggling with some challenges, but she's managed to overcome. It sounds like she's having a pretty good year, and I'm glad she's agreed to come on with us tonight and share some of the good things she's been doing and with the rest of the group. So thank you, Laura. Go ahead.
Oh, thank you, Lloyd. I appreciate it. And just good evening, everybody. And thank you all for being here. And yeah, so I want to talk a little bit tonight about wholesaling. I love to speak on things about like mindset and sort of what my style is in the real estate investing space, especially with wholesaling. But I understand that maybe not everyone is caught up on the technicalities of it. So what I'd like to do is I can ramble for hours on end, and that's not necessarily a good thing, I realize. So I'd be happy to address questions that people have in the chat as I go. I kind of know where I want to start tonight. But guys, if you have questions, even if you have questions about an individual deal, I feel like I can give an answer that can sort of help everyone in the group understand a little bit about how I do business. But let me give you a quick intro about myself. So my name's Laura. I started real estate investing full-time in 2014, I believe. It just seems like a lifetime ago and a year ago, all at the same time. It's been a whirlwind. When I got started, I wanted to be just a retail rehabber. And that's what I actually bought a rental before I quit my W-2. I guess that was my first transaction. Then after I left my W-2 to go all in, I bought a flip, and that was my first big project. And I definitely didn't know what I was doing, which is fine, except it was very stressful. And so that took a long time to complete and to actually sell. And so while I was going through all of that in real estate investing, I started to learn about other things that people did that I was unaware of. I knew about retail rehabbing. I knew about, buying rentals. I knew about them. I didn't really truly know about them. But what I started hearing as I started going to networking groups was I started hearing all this buzz about wholesaling. And I just really didn't even know what it was. I really wasn't very interested at first, but I kept hearing about it and I wanted to become more educated. And of course, you can't go to many meetings without meeting a bunch of wholesalers. So I started talking to people who describe themselves as wholesalers, and I really learned a lot. So in the meantime, like I said, I'm kind of, for lack of a better term, I was learning, but I was struggling with this first flip and getting it done. Actually getting it sold was just wasn't moving quickly or whatever. So I was sort of twiddling my thumbs, and I was like, man, I really need like money to be coming in my business. And I just kept hearing, I just kept thinking, like, everyone talks about wholesaling, like you don't have to really invest a lot into it. You can kind of make money without spending money. So I started to get interested in it, and it just didn't feel like it was for me at first, right? It felt very salesy. It felt kind of like a big time hustle. And, I started talking to some very smart people, and I started realizing that the smartest investors in St. Louis, if they were big time rehabbers or if they were putting together large rental portfolios, they were also wholesaling. And that's when it dawned on me, like, duh, it doesn't matter what you're doing as an investor. If you've got money on the table, in other words, if you've got a lead that is on a property that may not fit what your business is doing right then, like, you shouldn't just leave that money on the table. You should help that seller. You should buy their house, and you should make a profit because you're a business and you're in business to make a profit. So once I wrap my head around, like, wholesaling isn't a 4-letter word, literally or figuratively, right? It's not a bad word. There's nothing wrong with it. It's not just, I don't know, people with no money doing it. It's just like a totally legitimate business technique. And it's a way that we can, this is the best part of it to me, it's a way that we can truly, truly help people. Okay. And so that's kind of where I take my business these days is I love wholesaling. It's so much, it's not always fun, but It's usually so much fun. And one of the best things about it is that I just get to do my very best day in and day out to help people and make money for myself. So that's kind of how I got started in wholesaling. Once I did a couple of deals, I had just caught the bug, and it won't be what I do every day for the rest of my life, but it is definitely something I spend a lot of time on. And like I said, I do enjoy it. It presents tons and tons of challenges, which is something I really like. I feel like I'm a beginner every day. I kind of like that feeling. I just love the idea that if an issue comes up, what I've learned over the last 7 years is that the answer is out there. I just have to go find it. And because I've become good at that, I've become a good wholesaler. So a couple of questions are coming in. Dwayne says, Laura, what effect do I see all the new rules and regulations that he's hearing about aimed at wholesaling? So I'll answer that. And before we go into that, just in case there's anybody on here that's hearing the term wholesaling for the first time, I'm just going to give a quick little picture of what we're talking about here. Okay. So someone who might wholesale an investment property, they basically come across a lead for some sort of investment property that would be a good fit for an investor, right? What does that mean? That means maybe the house needs some work. You know, what in any case, what it means is that the person can buy the house at a discount from retail price. Okay. Why will people sell their house and sell it for less than what they could possibly get if they put it on the market? There's lots of reasons, right? The reason I run into most often is convenience and speed. A lot of times it's not about the money for the people who sell their houses to investors at a discount. And that's what they're just selling to a wholesale investor or someone who's building their own portfolio. We're all buying at a discount, guys. And a lot of times people just want to be done with a property. Maybe they need money quickly to go solve a different financial problem in their life. Maybe money is not an issue for them and it's more about an emotional problem they're trying to solve. They're trying to remove an emotional pain. Honestly, sometimes houses are emotionally painful for people to hold on to. Anyway, you get the idea. Sometimes the house just needs more work than they can put into it, et cetera, et cetera. So a wholesaler would put it under contract, and instead of going ahead and closing on that house and keeping it for themselves, they're going to assign that contract to another investor for a fee. Or they might do what's called double closing, which is use an end investor's money basically to close on the house twice in one day. The bottom line is that you don't take ownership of the house, at least not for more than a couple of hours, and you don't really have any risk in the deal because you're actually just selling the deal to another investor who's using their money to close on the house, okay? If any of that's not clear, please feel free to type in a comment or whatever and I'll clarify it. But to get back to what Dwayne's asking, you know, I live and work in Illinois. I also work in Missouri, so please know that because that's where I do the majority of my deals. But in Illinois, many people may have heard that there's like a new law that came on the books last year in 2020 that basically made wholesaling quote unquote illegal. And so that Illinois is not the only state where this is supposedly happening. I don't really keep track of where it's happening. Long story short, the state of Illinois doesn't want you to be marketing properties that you're not on the title to or on the deed for. They don't want you marketing those properties unless you have a real estate license. Okay. So the way the law is written, and I've read it several times, it just seems to ban it every which way. And then I hear tons of investors describe what they do to get around that. Some people believe that just simply double closing a deal will get you on the legal side of that argument. You don't even have to be licensed. The main thing I hear over and over is just get your real estate license and disclose that you're a real estate agent, and then you can still buy and sell property for a profit. So what I did to wholesale in Illinois legally the best I can is that's what I did. I went out and I got my real estate license and I disclose it that I'm a licensed real estate agent, and we don't really have an issue. So like I said, there are some issues. There's some changing landscapes out there. But in Missouri, wholesaling is the same today as it was when I started learning about it 7 years ago. If you put a property under contract, you have a legal interest in that property, and you have the legal right to market that property for investor partners to step in and buy it from you same day, or take the assignment of the contract from you for a profit. That's perfectly legal. And, you know, Chris Klewine, he gives great examples of, you know, wholesaling real estate isn't different from going to a yard sale, finding some, you know, vintage clothing or some great tennis shoes, buying it at a yard sale from someone who's trying to clean out their house, and then turn around and put it on eBay and make some money, right? When you go to Walmart or Target and you take something off the shelf, they have marked that price up to make a profit, okay? So that's what we're doing in the real estate market. We're bringing liquidity to an illiquid market. So what we're doing is we're helping people that feel like they cannot sell their house any better way. We're helping them move it quickly at discounts. So Dwayne, I hope I answered. As far as the Illinois part goes, just get licensed, guys. Disclose that you're a real estate agent, and continue to just do everything as ethical as you possibly can. What the future holds, I don't know, but it's probably going to just end up being that if this spreads throughout the country, you're probably just going to have to keep getting licensed, but it's not hard. So don't fret. Someone else says, how do I find cash buyers outside of Facebook groups? So we're talking about how do we find buyers for our deals, right? Especially if you're new, that must feel like it's a very daunting task. And my answer to that is, yes, it's great to start a buyer's list. But if you need to make money in real estate wholesaling now, what's most important is to get a deal, because a good deal will sell itself. Marketing in Facebook groups is a great way to find cash buyers. I've found many buyers that way, but also I find many buyers by networking. And I know we're coming out of COVID season and we haven't done a lot of in-person networking, but I see it's all firing back up. And if you're one of those people that's comfortable going out in the public these days, and if you're new and you're trying to find cash buyers, I'd say get out to networking events. Events like when this RIA has in-person events, you know, I'm sure that'll start up sometime, you know, whenever they're comfortable with that. But just get out to these events, make sure you're meeting people, shaking hands, kissing babies, whatever you have to do. Just get to know people, and more importantly, have them get to know you. Have them, you know, when you show up over and over and over and over and over, they know you're serious, and they'll start doing business with you. But if you don't have a buyer's list, or you're not sure who's going to buy your deal, if you've got a good deal, you will find someone. It's not going to be hard. And worst case scenario is you can always partner up with an experienced wholesaler who's got that buyer's list. You can split the profit with them if they bring you a buyer. So hope that answers that question. But don't let it stop you from getting a deal. The buyer's list is not the key. Trust me, it's getting the deal. It's the inventory, especially these days. And Lois says, are you finding deals in this hot market? Yeah, Lois. So I am, but I have to work for it. Okay. And I mean, I don't know. I feel like that's always been the case. I don't feel like this is much different. Here's one of my keys to success lately. And I say this because if you're just getting started, I want you to hear this and hold on to this, is that I have so many deals that I get done these days that are based on months and sometimes years of follow-up. That doesn't mean I'm calling or following up with these hundreds of leads every week or every month. I mean, sometimes I'm not even touching them more than twice a year, but I have basically a backlog of leads of people that I've talked to over the years. It wasn't the right time. It wasn't the right situation, but I burn no bridges, you know, and I do not throw away any contact information. I have a CRM, I use Podio, and I keep track of all of that. So, you know, I feel like I can always find a deal. If I'm hurting for a deal, it's just not hard to do. Again, I do have a lot of these backlogs of leads, but that brings me to say that number one, no's are not no's forever. So if you're making offers or talking to sellers and the market is preventing deals from, you know, you being able to get deals under contract at the price you want, just don't worry. Things will change. People's situations change. Just make sure that you keep track of who you're talking to, and you'll see that if you consistently work this business for weeks, months, and years, that you will have no problem finding deals. And, you know, oftentimes I just when my business is slow, it's because my actions have been slow. If I need deals, I do one thing and one thing only. I tell myself, I'm going to make one good offer every day, whether I think they're going to take it or not. I'm making an offer every day. And within 2 weeks, I'm telling you, I'll have contracts. So if you don't have deals and you're not making offers, the very first thing I'll say is make offers, even if you think they're not going to get accepted. Because a wholesaler can do well in any market, up, down, sideways. And gosh, it always just feels like I'm rambling and rambling. So I hope I'm doing all right, guys. I'm just going through the chat here. How do I choose to market and what area? So one of my favorite marketing strategies that I love to do is driving for dollars. I have no affiliation with Deal Machine, but I do use the Deal Machine app because it's cool how you can take a picture of the house, and I like how I can send my mailers out right away. But I love going in and finding neighborhoods that I know I want to wholesale in, right? And I go out, I have a very specific method on how I go and find these houses. And that's like one of my favorite ways to do it. I feel like I can edge out the competition because I know how to find houses that aren't necessarily on an absentee owner list or some other sort of canned list. There's nothing wrong with lists, but I really like kind of going out and hunting on my own. I like being out in my car. I like being out in neighborhoods. It doesn't bother me. So that's one way. Again, I mean, I don't even have to leave my house anymore to get deals just because I've got lots of leads. Also, people know me. So that just goes back to the networking. I do get calls weekly where people have found their deals and they're calling me to see if I can help them with those. I have repeat clients actually where I've helped other investors with their properties and they call me up. So I've wholesaled, transparently wholesale other investors' properties, sometimes 3, 4, 5 of their properties I can help them with. But I mean, I've been doing this a long time and, there've been many dry spells and many times I didn't give up and I just kept charging away. So keep that up. And I promise you, your business will be like mine one day as well. Let's see. Oh, so the areas I like to go, what I really like are kind of like 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom or 1-bathroom brick ranches that were built like in 1950. That's the kind of stuff I like, right? Neighborhoods where, they're, I don't even care if they're owner occupied or rental types neighborhoods, but I like neighborhoods where a house could work as a rental or a flip, sort of like median price range, first time home buyer type of market, because I'm thinking of my end buyers when I'm looking for these houses, right? They want projects where they could have multiple exit strategies. They want houses where when they put the money into it, it's really going to look like something. They're going to really improve the neighborhood. Although I've wholesaled everywhere, let me tell you, everywhere. But that's the type of market that I kind of target. So like not again, like nice North County, South County. I don't really go out to like West County that much, right? There's just not I know the deals are there. It's just slim pickings, man. Maybe that's a limitation mindset of mine, but I just kind of, like I said, go where I feel like there's multiple exit strategies and there's just houses on every block that are potential investor deals. So, okay, great question. Do I, as a wholesaler, put up any earnest money in my process? I have, but generally, no, I do not. I have done it in situations where I felt like I should or needed to or whatever. But the way I go about earnest money now is a lot of wholesalers will write into their contract. They want as little risk in the deal as possible. So they want to put up as little earnest money as possible. So they'll say, oh, I want to put down $10 earnest money or I've seen $1, $10, $100. I have nothing against that. And I tell you, sellers will sign those contracts all day long. I don't like that for me. I want to give them an earnest money amount that they would expect, more like $500, but I don't want it to be my money. So the way I write it up is that they would get a $500 earnest money deposit that's due by the end of my inspection period. And I make it very clear that I have to make it through this inspection period to make sure that I can close on the property. And once I know I can close on the property and my inspections are over, I will deposit that earnest money. And then I generally use my end buyer's money as earnest money. Again, I've put up my own before. You don't want to put up more than you have to, but you know, I want my end buyer to have skin in the game as well. So a little bit more earnest money just makes them have a little bit of skin in the game, and also kind of gives my seller that feeling that, you know, there's skin in the game on the deal, right? That if something doesn't work out, you know, they're going to be walking away with something. So that's my style, and it works really well for me. And people are asking where to find experienced wholesalers. Guys, meetings like this, Facebook, I don't know, like they're just everywhere. I mean, I could name names, but that wouldn't even like include everybody. Like I'd leave somebody out that's great or whatever. There are wholesalers in the St. Louis area that are also like in education, they're in coaching. I mean, some people off the top of my head, like I'm going to throw names out there, just Google them or look them up on YouTube or Facebook or whatever, but like Chris Clewine, David Dodge and Mike Slane, Chris Monroe, Rich Groves. There's just people that have been doing this for a long time, and they hold all kinds of like educational things online, or like I know Rich Groves has his group meeting up tonight at Hooters. So there's all kinds of ways to meet people. Just get out there on social media, find out who's in St. Louis, start friending them, connecting to them, and then finding out who's who and going to events, and you'll figure out who's who really fast. And John says that he sees a lot of wholesalers list properties that they have on Facebook. Is that to get as much interest as possible and drive the price up? So John, yes. I mean, part of the answer to that has to be yes. I'm sure that's the strategy for a lot of people. Generally, if I'm putting something on Facebook, it's not that I'm trying to drive the price up necessarily. I'm just trying to cast a wide net. But I tell you what, I generally, you know, and also a lot of my contacts that already know me outside of Facebook, they're seeing this stuff on Facebook. So it's just, not everyone's checking their email closely these days. I mean, I know I don't. So if I'm just sending out email blasts, or even if I'm just sending out text messages, this marketing may not make it to even my core buyers. Just depends on where their attention is set at the time. And oftentimes they're on social media. So, I mean, it's just one way to just basically, like I said, cast a wide net. If the buyers you normally work with aren't interested in that property, you're going to just be able to meet new people, grow your buyers list. But I tell you what, you just can't trust anybody who says that they're willing to buy your deal. Okay, so you have to make sure that you vet people, and that you make sure that you get like, you know, whatever, get their skin in the game. Make sure that you make it very clear whatever earnest money they're putting down is non-refundable. There's all kinds of ways. Ask for a proof of funds document. Google it. Make sure it's not something they can buy for $4.99 on a website. Call up the bank on a thing. Just make sure that if you're working with somebody that you don't know for the first time, just do a little bit of homework on them to see that you can feel confident that they're going to come through on their end of the deal. Because anybody can talk to you on Facebook about a property. But it's also just not a bad strategy as far as finding people. So Dave Lee says he's new to Podio and wants to know if I can recommend a resource to learn how to set it up. Here's my recommendation, and this is just what works for me, because I know some people, like, I don't know, they go crazy with Podio and they hire people to set it up. Okay, Jeff Kaufman did that, and I mean, his system is amazing. I have got the free version, and I found some free template based for wholesalers. And I mean, it's literally just supposed to be for me the way I want to use it. It's just like a Rolodex. Okay. I mean, I don't need the system to be doing automated things for me. My business isn't that, I'm not scaled up like some people are. It's just not the way I run things. So if you're new to Podio and you're just trying to figure out how to use it, I'd say just set up something sort of simple through the free version. If you're really scaling big time and you want to get extremely automated, I'd probably say go on YouTube and find someone who is kind of giving out that education, or find someone else besides me who's done that. But it's not hard to learn how to set up on your own when you get started. So don't let that stop you. Log in, look around. Yeah, so let's see. When I make an offer, have I researched the market price? Yeah, absolutely. So how do we make our offers? You know, where do we come up with the numbers? And the first thing I do after I look, first of all, if I can set this up in any order possible, I like to get my eyes on the property as soon as possible. Not everybody is like that. Some people won't even go out there unless they think they're going to get a contract signed. I get it. I get it. It's just not my style. I want to go out there. I want to meet the people. If I can, I want to see the house. Because again, even if it's a no, I'm going to be following up with them. I've just had so many deals come from that. And so I go out, I want to see what this house actually looks like. And then the very next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to figure out what the after repair value is. So I've got to make a list of what I think, you know, an investor needs to do to bring this up to a good rental standard or to make it a great retail flip. And I'm going to look at like the MLS, the multiple listing service, you know, the thing that real estate agents have access to. I'm going to look at what houses are selling for retail, and I'm going to guesstimate within like a quarter-mile range. I'm going to find similar houses that have sold within the past 6 to 12 months. I'm going to see what do they sell for. And then I'm going to get like a little range. Hopefully it's a small shot group. And I'm going to call that my ARV, after repair value. So in that case, yes, you're going to have to do this on almost every property, whether you use the MLS or you figure it out in some other method. Okay. PropStream. I know tons of people are using PropStream. Great. Just do your best to figure out what things are selling for retail so that you can have a starting point, and that's our ARV. And then in most areas, you want to try to you're going to make an offer that is 70% of that number. So you're going to subtract 30% from that number. And then you're going to subtract the estimate, what you think all the repairs are going to cost. That's tricky. So there's ways to do that. Let me tell you, there's no replacement for experience. But anyway, and go conservative, make the number higher if you're not sure, but you're going to try to figure out how much money an investor needs to put in repairs. So you're going to subtract that off of the 70%, and then you have to subtract off your wholesale fees, whatever you want to make on the deal, and that's going to be your offer price. So in order to get down to that, you have to start with item number 1, in my opinion, which is, you know, what's the after repair value of this property? And then Eric is asking me if there's an area that I won't invest my time in as a wholesaler. And that's a great question. And, you know, one of the things that attracted me to the wholesaling side of real estate is that if, let's say, for example, that I just am more of a buy and hold person. And let's say I'm building a portfolio and I'm really honing in on just certain areas. Let's say I just want Hazelwood schools, okay, for example. And so let's say I'm marketing to houses in the Hazelwood School District, and I get a lead and somebody calls and says, well, I don't have a house here where you're mailing me, but I know, you know, my parents are elderly or whatever, and we've moved them in with family, and we've got a house in South County. And then they tell me about it, and it sounds like a deal. Well, I'm not going to let that go, okay? So I guess the point is that if I was a buy and hold investor, and even if it didn't fit my criteria or my portfolio, I should try to go make some money off of that lead and help those people, also help a fellow investor get their hands on the deal. So if I would do that in that case, then why as a wholesaler wouldn't I try to wholesale any lead that I like? Or any lead that I think would make me money and make other investors money and help a seller. So I say all of that to say, some people still aren't comfortable spending time in certain areas. North City is an area that not everyone will work in. I do work in North City when the numbers are right. But, you know, I don't market there. I don't go driving for dollars there. I don't send mailers there. One place I've had zero luck ever, and I just basically don't even work the leads, is if I would get a lead in East St. Louis, Illinois. I have no interest in even driving there, honestly, just to be honest. Maybe it's because I'm from this side of the river and I don't know. But I've just never, even the nice houses there, you buy them for like $2,000. But I know people who've made a couple thousand there. I just don't know if it's worth my time. But Kokia, Illinois, I make money there. I make money in like the area that I came from, East Alton, Wood River, Alton. I mean, these aren't fancy areas, you know. So you can really make money anywhere, you know. So you should just do what you're comfortable with, and just do whatever, you know, your heart says to do. But if you don't like certain areas, you know, you got to be happy with where you are and what you're doing. So, oh, and Jan asked a question. She says, if I don't find a buyer during my inspection period, do I cancel the contract and give the property back to the seller? Her only challenge with wholesalers is that if they tie up the property and don't close as promised, got it. That's she doesn't like that. I understand. And by the way, I love how you can use all of these techniques in every market. West County is my favorite. Yes. So yeah, I know Jan just kills it out there. And you know, Jan is one of those people that is just so highly respected in the St. Louis community, in the investment community. And I know for a fact she, you know, I heard her say it herself, you know, that she would also wholesale a deal if it didn't fit her business at the time. And so anyway, I say all of that to go back to her question here. You know, she's just saying that, look, you know, one of the reasons wholesalers, sometimes that word is more like a four-letter word, is because we get a bad reputation for tying up properties or over-promising to sellers, and then not performing, okay? So yeah, and it happens. So here's the techniques that I have personally developed over the years, because this was always my huge fear when I started, was not being able to do what I said I was going to do. That was like my number one fear, and it absolutely paralyzed me for so long. And you know, what got me out of that was the fact that I needed to make money, and I had to start taking risk, and I had to put myself out there. And with that comes a learning curve. Now, I learned very quickly to identify deals that are like base hits or home runs or whatever, where I feel very comfortable that we're going to get the deal done. And then there are times when I'm a lot less comfortable. And when I'm in that type of situation, what I want to do is a couple of things. I want to make sure that the seller understands that I'm not sure about this. Like, I can look into purchasing this property from you. I can get my partners in to look at the property with me. We can run our numbers, but I can't do that unless it's under contract. And I explained to them that, you know, I will let you know by the end of the inspection period if we cannot close on this. I'm not making any promises, blah, blah, blah. So I'll basically, what I'm getting at is, I feel like that's apparent on any deal, but I make sure to drive that point home if I am not confident for one reason or another. And then there's also times, especially if I'm working with another investor who just wants me to help them get rid of a property really quickly, I might do an agreement with them that's not exclusive, that they can sell it out from under me if I haven't put the money down yet or something like that. At the end of the day, me personally, I never want to tie someone's hands if I don't have to. And, you know, if I just don't feel comfortable with a deal, I either won't work it at all, or I'll make sure that, you know, if the person's kind of desperate, if they're coming across desperate and they really want me to help them, I'll just say, I'll do my best. We'll have this contract in place, but I make sure expectations are firmly set that this may not work out. That's my style. And what I see a lot of times is with new people, you know, they don't have those hard conversations. They don't realize that it might help their business rather than hurt their business. And I just, you know, we all start from the beginning. We all make mistakes. And I'm not saying it to say it's okay, because it is a challenge. It is the downside to all of this. Because there are people who will come in, they'll try to wholesale 3 things, they'll mess all 3 of them up, and then they're gone. And it's just like, if that happens 100 times, then those of us who are in this business every day, you know, then we're kind of looked at in the same light. And I feel like, you know, we're not always doing business the same way. So if you're new, I don't want you to be scared to try and make offers and things like that. But at the same time, Just be very mindful that you're communicating properly. The other thing is I see the writing on the wall with a deal that I'm trying to maybe sell to an end buyer within a couple of days, within 3-4 days. If I have a 15-day inspection period, I don't need to go back to them. They don't need to not hear from me for 2 weeks. And then I go back to a seller on day 14 or 15 and say, surprise. That never needs to happen that way. By day 5, I can start to say, hey, look, I'm uneasy about this. We may need to discuss this price. You know, I may have gotten this wrong. You're more than happy to move on to, you know, other options. If you don't want to change the price, if you'd still like to try to close this with me, let's work through these challenges. You know, I just make sure that it's a two-way conversation and that I'm as transparent as possible about my expectations for the deal. And that's where the wholesaling from the heart comes from, right? We're trying to help people. We can and we should make good money while we do this. We can make, you know, triple win situations out of these deals, but they're not always easy. They don't always go as planned. And just the more open you are with everybody without shooting yourself in the foot, the more open you are with everybody, the better it can go. And the people really appreciate that. So thank you for that question, Jan. I really appreciate it. And I'm sorry, like Lloyd, how late are we going? Because I know it's 8:15.
Oh, I think we got plenty of time. You go past 8:30, you know.
Okay,
we usually go till 9 o'clock when we've had in person, so.
Okay, well, I'll keep going, but I mean, you know, if we come to a natural stopping place, that's fine too.
Okay, well, I want to put it also, since you got me in here, we are featuring Jan Duke is our featured speaker for next month for June. So put in a plug for her. Yeah, she's a high-end rehabber in West County is her specialty area. So she's got a formula that works there and unique to herself.
Absolutely. Do not miss that one, you guys. I'm telling you, do not miss any chance to hear Jan Duke talk about anything in real estate because she's done it all. She's seen it all. I feel like she knows it all. And she's just fantastic. I mean, she could blow anything I have to say out of the water. So that's so exciting to hear that she's doing that. And I know I'll definitely be on for that too. Yeah, that's awesome. And so Rick is asking about contracts. I do have like a 1-pager contract. Sometimes it bleeds into 2 pages. I just have my own contract that I use. There's no special, I kind of got it from another wholesaler years ago and I've tweaked it and to my liking over the years. I've taken things out of other contracts that I've seen. So that's the sloppy answer to that question, Rick. Sorry. Everyone, you know, I've just seen so many different ones and they all have the primary things in them. If you're new and you don't have anything, again, you can just ask someone who's experienced if they have one that they'll share. You can go on YouTube University. There's just so many people offering contracts for free, or you can Google them. So they're out there and everywhere. And Rick says he has dozens of potential properties. How do I know if it's a good neighborhood? How does anybody know if it's a good neighborhood? Well, investors buy in almost every neighborhood. So I feel like you can wholesale anywhere. I don't like to use the word good and bad. In fact, I'm trying to get away from that, using those words about anything in life. Making judgments doesn't really help us. And so I don't like to say like good neighborhood or bad neighborhood because we just have different neighborhoods, right? What I kind of think about is where have I done deals before, you know, where it's not so much a neighborhood, it's the situation, it's the sellers, it's the property itself. I kind of just know where I like to work. Anyway, that's not a great answer, Rick, but get out there. I don't know how new you are to any of this. And, you know, I think I heard you talking with Beth. So, I mean, it sounds like you have a fix and flip business, I think, or something, or you have experience. So, what do you like? You know, what are the people that you know? Where do they buy? What do they do? Because these neighborhoods lend to different types of strategies, right? Could just be rentals. They don't have to be fancy rentals. Could be fancy rentals. Could be creative deals where you're getting a creative buyer in there. It could be like a tear down and new construction type of build. It could be like West County, like what Jan does. She'll buy like a 3-bedroom, 2-bath ranch, and then she'll make it into this amazing thing. She'll add a whole other house on top of it. I mean, there's just, but see, these exit strategies don't work everywhere. So any neighborhood can be considered a good neighborhood when it comes to wholesaling. If you're just looking for your own leads for your own business, you just have to decide what you want your business to look like and what kind of things you want to do. Yeah. Okay. Oh no, we're not even close to caught up on these. Okay, Jan, thanks. She said, excellent answers to the question and statement. She appreciates I'm willing to have the hard discussions and live up to the buyer's expectations. Thank you. She says, I'm earning the respect and trust of my sellers and helping bless the industry. Thank you. And that is what I try to do. And that was the biggest hurdle, was the fear of not being able to be, I felt like at first, and it wasn't even a conscious thing, I'm talking about this because in case there's someone out there that's kind of feeling the same way, right? I didn't know if I had the right personality to be in the wholesale side of the business, because so many wholesalers I saw were just male. First of all, nothing wrong with that, but like male, like they just seemed like they just had the gift of gab. They just knew what to say. They were able to, I don't know. I just felt like I just wanted to just be me, my little self. And I just wanted to just help people. I just wanted to help. And I didn't know if I had all the answers to all the questions. And what I just figured out is that nobody does, even if they act like they do. Nobody knows all the answers. And if you can just be honest with people, like if someone's got a problem property or a property that they're willing to sell at a discount, there's a reason for that. They've already faced challenges with this property, most likely. And if you're willing to step up to the plate and be transparent about things all along the way, and step up not as a problem generator, but as a problem solver, they will work with you. They just want you to help them, and they will help you help them. So there have been times when I haven't been able to close a deal on time, or you know, we've had to renegotiate price. I mean, I don't like doing any of that. And it's never my primary strategy, right? I don't make an offer with the plan to renegotiate later. I've heard of people that do. That's not my style. But when we get our backs against the wall, whether this is in wholesaling or you're making an offer on a property so you can rehab it, sometimes things don't work out. You still have the ability to help people, give it your best shot, and allow them to walk away if you're not able to meet the terms of the contract you originally offered. Allow them to move on. Most of the time, they just won't. They're still looking for you to solve their problem. So that was once I started to really see that over and over and over, I just thought, man, not only can I do this, like I could be really good at this because I'm so like that. I'm like a dog on a bone sometimes. It's amazing what I'll spend my time on if I think I'm really helping somebody. Kathy Hall is asking, like, how do I know what to charge for my fees? So really, it's not a fee. It is, but it's not, right? It's like a profit. It's like a profit. So, you know, let's just step back and talk about assignment fees. So an assignment is where I would have a contract to buy a property, and I'm going to sell that contract, the terms of that contract, I'm going to sell that to another investor for an assignment fee. Okay, so they're going to know what I got the property under contract for. They're going to obviously know what the assignment fee is, and then they know all the numbers. It's pretty transparent. And it's not that there's a fee for my service. That's not what it's about. It's about where do the numbers on the deal land, right? So how much like of a gap can we even fill to where the numbers make sense for the end buyer and the numbers fulfill what we've got in place on the contract with the seller. So if I have a property that I put under contract for $70,000 and you know, an end buyer is willing to pay $80,000 for that house or that property, then I, as a wholesaler, have the potential to make $10,000. So, but if that same seller just wouldn't do the deal at 70, like say they wouldn't have sold it to me for 70, but they would have sold it to me for 75. My end buyer doesn't mean they're going to pay 85. They still have their number, right? They know where their number is that they can purchase at to make a profit. So really for a wholesaler, it's just how can you construct the deal? How much can you get out of the numbers in the deal? And so then you just have to ask yourself, as a wholesaler, what am I willing to work on, or what do I want to make? So if I want to make 10,000 on every single deal, then I won't really be working a deal where I don't feel like I have those numbers in place to make that happen. Now, I'd say in St. Louis market, if that's the only thing you want to do, you're going to, especially if you're just starting out, the deals are going to be a little bit few and far between. Not saying it's not possible, but if you're doing single family stuff in St. Louis, especially if you're within your first year or so in the business, I'd say work as many deals as you can, do the best you can, make the most you can, but do deals for $2,000 or $3,000. Absolutely. They'll pay your bills along the way. And most importantly, you're going to get experience. You're going to, like I said, build that buyer's list, build your reputation. People are going to get to know you. And then as you grow your business, then you can start to cherry pick deals that are going to allow you to get more of a fee or more of a profit margin on that deal. So it's not really that I pick what I'm worth. I pick what I'm worth in the idea that I use my time in a way that it will reflect what I want to use it for, what I think my worth is. But now if I get a deal under contract and I have somehow missed something or messed up as to what I think my end buyer is going to pay, say I thought I had a deal that had like a $10,000, profit built into it, and then they found a crack in the basement that I didn't see or whatever, I don't know, whatever. And, I'm only going to make 5. Well, what am I going to do? I've already got time in it. I've already got a seller that's going to, they want to know what time they're supposed to close in 2 weeks. They're so excited to close. What am I going to do? Say, no, I'm only worth 10. No, you just close the deal. So, you want to shoot for what makes you happy. But I'd say, keep in mind things don't always work out the way you plan. If you're doing 6 deals a month and making $2,000 to $5,000 on every deal, are you doing bad? I don't think so. And you can just, drill down as your business grows and you're able to cherry pick leads and things like that. So let's see. Jean is asking, how many hours do I put in per week? Great question. I've thought about this so many times. Sometimes it feels like I work 18 hours a day, but I really don't. I just feel like I think about things 18 hours a day. When I sit down and I count, like, how many hours do I think I actually sat behind my computer or looked at properties or whatever, sometimes it's like 20 hours a week. So I guess what I'm getting at is, like, I feel like I'm always kind of on call in this business. I can choose not to answer my phone, but you don't want to miss things too much. So some weeks, I might work 60 hours a week, definitely prone to working on weekends, but I can also just shut that off most of the time for at least a day or two, if not longer. It doesn't mean I ignore people, but I don't have to be glued to my desk. And that's what I love about real estate is, man, if I'm just having a funky week, of course, I'm going to do whatever I need to do to fulfill my promises, but like, I might not be putting a lot of effort into lead generation for new leads if I'm just not feeling up to par, okay? Like, I'm in charge of the amount of hours I put in. I would think that I'd probably work 40 hours or slightly less or slightly more any given normal week. I really don't think I work more than that. And I think a lot of weeks I work less. It just doesn't always feel like it because I'm in my head a lot about my business. I'm constantly, like, if I'm driving to the gym, I'm thinking about how I can structure a deal or who might like this lead if I get my hands on it. So I feel like I'm always kind of, but I'm enjoying it. So, if you're starting out and you still got a W-2 job, you can definitely do this on the side. There's just so many ways to work this part-time or full-time or extra full-time. You can put 80 hours a week in if you just love it that much. the sky's the limit. So, oh, and then someone's asking if I need to use a board contract as a licensed realtor. I don't think so. I actually am licensed in Illinois. I'm waiting. I've completed everything for Missouri. I'm just waiting on the real estate commission to give me my, whatever they're going to give me to say I'm licensed over there. I guess my license. So, but I mean, I know a lot of licensed people that wholesale, and I don't think that we are required to use it. Because you're still like, you're buying and selling for sale by owner, right? So, do I always see the property before giving my offer? I do. I have worked on deals where I never saw the property, like joint venture deals where maybe another wholesaler brought me the deal. They had pictures. You know, I saw the contract. It's not like I've seen every single house I've ever made money on, but if it's just my deal front to back, I can't think of anything I've done where I didn't see it. There's probably something, but no, the general answer is no. Some people are very good at what's called virtual wholesaling. They just literally wholesale from a computer. I get it. I totally get it. It's just, I don't know if I'd enjoy that. I think I'd feel kind of chained to the desk. It's a great way to wholesale in other parts of the country though. I just basically am in driving distance to all of the leads I get. Occasionally I get leads in other parts of the country and I kind of look at them. But you know, usually they're not, like the numbers aren't very solid. If they are, I find a wholesaler in the area and try to get it over to them for a referral fee or something like that. But so yeah, that's my style. Everyone's different though. Some people, like I said, there are lots of people who will even buy for themselves sight unseen. But in general, I need to see the house is the way I look at it. Who does my inspections? Well, me to begin. I mean, you could have an inspector go and look at a property if you think there's a special reason. Lots of times basement issues, you know, we have those maybe looked at, but I usually try to find an end buyer and just let them figure out what they want to do. They've got their people. Like I said, you can know within 3, 4, 5 days, the writing's on the wall if you're going to be able to move this thing, and probably even to who's going to buy it. And you kind of know at that point what type of actual inspections need to happen. But most buyers, they just look at it for themselves with their own 2 eyes and they make the decision that way. And they don't really have professionals go in and inspect. Lots of times they'll have their contractors go in for like a bid or whatever. But you know, the way I do it is like, you can have anybody look at it that you want, but don't write me a contract contingent on it, because I don't want to leave anything to chance. Get all of that done first. So anyway, like I said, it's just, I kind of go in, I look around. I've got like a little rehab estimator worksheet that I use, and I go conservative on my repair estimates, and that's how I come up with those numbers. And oh, Jan says, as a licensee, we have the privilege of using the standard board contract, but it's not a requirement. Okay, good. Whew. That's what I thought. So yeah, and I have. Okay, so I have used special sale contracts before. Absolutely, you can. But it's good to know that someone else agrees with me. You don't have to. I just know that's the way I've been doing it for a long time, and I've seen many others not using them. So good to hear that someone else agrees on that. And Zach says, hey, just curious, why'd you go into wholesaling instead of going the standard real estate agent route? Okay, great question, Zach. Okay, even now as being a licensed real estate agent, I don't consider myself a standard agent. I'm doing it. So I do work on like listings for investors. I will list for investors, but what I really want to do with my license is use it in my wholesaling business. I want to do more closing on properties and putting them on the MLS. And I just want to also just be on the legal side of things in Illinois. So I didn't ever really want to be a real estate agent because I considered that different from being an investor. Now I know there are plenty of agents who have investments, and there are plenty of investors who have their agent's license. So this, for a lot of us in this room or on this call, you know, these things all meld together. Especially when I was starting in all of this, I just thought of it as two different things. I also used to always say that, like, when I go and talk to a seller, I don't want them to confuse me as a buyer for a real estate agent. So now I know how to have that conversation. At the time, I guess I just didn't know how I didn't want them to think that I wanted to list their house when I really wanted to make an offer to buy it. But again, now I just see there's so many other ways I can use my license. But what I'm not doing is I'm not planning on representing retail buyers or representing retail sellers, you know, regular old people who are just trying to buy and sell their primary residence. That's fantastic. But go for it, agents. I'll be referring things out to other agents for that, but it's not what I want to spend my time doing. So that's why I don't do that at this point. And David says, what's the best place to get a wholesale contract? Is there a standard contract? Kind of touched on this earlier. I'll recap quickly. There's not really a standard contract. Like I said, I just had gotten one from a friend a few years, you know, when I first started, and I've just tweaked it over the years to my liking. But you can go find one like online. People who offer wholesale education will offer them for free. You can, you know, find people on YouTube that just teach this stuff day and night. And there's just so many resources. Just Google it, go find it in the internet world. And then you'll kind of figure out how you want yours to read over time. And Scott says, oh, sorry, guy kicked off the call and missed my question. Your best tips on following up with leads and sellers to get them interested in you. I love this question, Scott, because I think it's such a key to wholesaling. And I say this all the time, and sometimes I always replay it in my head, and I'm like, I want to make sure my point is clear here. But number one, what you want to do is you want to make sure that people like you. Okay. And for me, what that means is not being fake or not being myself. Really, I think people just gravitate towards other people when they see them bringing their authentic self to the table. Even if it's not necessarily, you know, how they are, doesn't have to be an exact personality match. I mean, there are often times I'm not a personality match when I'm talking to, you know, a seller. I can just tell. But what I just do is I'll dial myself back, but everything that comes from me is authentic. Okay. Now, that doesn't sound like I'm answering your question, except that I think I am. Because what I do is every conversation I have with anybody from day one of talking to them, I just make sure that they can get a sense of who I am. They can get a sense that they can trust me. If I don't know the answer to a question, I tell them. I just make sure that I just want them to know that they can like me. I'm not going to bother them, and I'm here to help if it's a fit. It's got to work for everybody, blah, blah, blah. So I say that because when we make offers and we talk to sellers and we try to buy their properties at a discount to make a profit, lots of times these numbers aren't appealing to people right away. Sometimes it is about the money, or at least at first they think it is. And the answer is going to be a no. And the reason why it's so important that they can trust you, they like you, you don't piss them off because they told you no or whatever. Like, don't start any of that. Just be cool because you're going to follow up with them. You're going to follow up with them over time. You're going to show them who you are. You're going to just, you know, you're just going to be there, and you're going to be there in a non-threatening way. This is my style. I'm there in a non-threatening way. Hey, I haven't forgotten you. Don't forget me. If anything's changed, let me know. Blah, 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 blah. Hey, remember 6 months ago, just to remind you, I offered you X amount of dollars. Not sure if you're ready to sell at this time, but you can always reach out to me. I'm just getting, that is my follow-up, right? I keep track of things in Podio. I don't follow up too often. I don't wait too long. I don't know. It just depends on the lead. But if you're kind of bombarding someone every week or two and they're telling you they're not ready, you're gonna scare them off. But if you're waiting too long, they're going to maybe find somebody else in your place because they're not going to remember you or whatever. And if you're not bringing that friendly, helpful attitude, then they probably don't really want to do business with you. So I'm not suggesting be fake because they'll see right through that. Okay. But just be who I know who you are, which is an awesome freaking person. Don't hide that. Don't play hardball, like in terms of, you don't have to be like this sassy business person. Just be you, and just be cool and happy, and just be there to help when they're ready, or when the deal works, or when the time is right, because they're just going to love doing business with you, and they're going to do business with you. If not in the beginning, then lots of times in the future that will happen. So my best tips for follow-up is just keep track of every lead. A no does not mean throw that lead away. Keep it. It's money, I'm telling you. Not 100%, but if 40% of them turn out to be deals, come on. So keep your leads, even the no's. Make sure that they like you. Make sure you're being cool, and just these things will just start rolling. You'll see. Let's see. I've been marketing to non-owner occupied properties and not finding motivated sellers. In fact, many are irritated that they're getting so many calls to buy their properties. Any recommendations? Totally understand. And this kind of goes back to what I said earlier about, I'm not really into mailing those lists because they get kind of beat up. I know there's deals in those lists, but I've been down that road before. And yeah, these people, it's kind of like just a whole bunch of people are buying lists, a whole bunch of people are marketing to them. And the people that are kind of left, so to speak, they're just sort of sick of it right now. Now, look, I know there's deals in there. I know there's people to help. I know situations change. But if you don't want to deal with that as a wholesaler at this point, if that's something that you're tired of, you want to be happy with what you do every day. So see if you can find other methods of lead generation that don't take you down that trail, okay? One of the things I do is I love to go driving for dollars because, again, I feel like my two eyes and my brain, it's like I have a spidey sense sometimes for these houses. And lots of times when you look them up on the tax record, it shows as they're owner occupied. These are houses that wouldn't be on a list, but I can look at them and see they're clearly vacant or most likely vacant or whatever. And I don't want to overlook another lead generation method that is so important, so easy, and that's just talking to people. Make sure everybody you know knows what you do. You're not trying to sell them on anything. Just make sure they know what you do. So I was at the gym 2 Saturdays ago, and on Saturday mornings, we kind of have a group class. And so if there's a bunch of people that haven't maybe met before, we'll go around in a circle. And so you're just supposed to like say your name and one thing interesting about yourself. Well, I'd love to say, I travel here, I do, but I'm like, no, this is a prime opportunity to make sure everybody at my gym knows what I do. And so I guess what I'm getting at is like, most likely those 20 and 30-year-old people don't have a bunch of property they need to sell at a discount, but who knows about their grandparents or their aunts or their uncles or their neighbors or whatever. Make sure everyone you talk to, you can just drop it in the conversation. It's not awkward. It's not salesy. You're just informing people. And, I like to say things like, I buy houses that are good investment properties. In fact, if they need work, great. The more work, the better. I'm just painting a picture in their mind of the types of things I'm looking for. Talking to people is free, and it's a great way to get leads that other people just don't have access to. A lot of these leads are not on the list. So great question. And Anne says she receives 5 or 6 calls a day to buy current property that she has. Could I use these buyers for wholesaling? Okay. So it sounds like people are calling you probably because you have a rental property or something, and it's coming up as absentee owner, like the owner doesn't live there. So you're on a list or skip tracing. So if I understand this question right, I think who's calling you already are generally wholesalers. So if you wanted to wholesale, they would not necessarily be your end buyer because they're looking for end buyers. So if I understand your question correctly, I'm not saying it wouldn't ever work ever. And I think they're good people, like get their contact information, find out who they are. What are they in your market or whatever? Like get to know them because they're legitimately out there working this business. Maybe they're an end buyer in some capacity, but I'm just warning you, it sounds like you're getting contacted by wholesalers. And if they wholesalers are generally selling the deals off to others instead of keeping them for themselves. But they could still help you find a buyer for your wholesale deal. I'd say just get to know the people, take their names down, see, which people are kind of like showing up in your investment groups. You'll know those are the more serious folks, and see if you can network with them. And also, and keep in mind, a lot of these people are probably hiring virtual assistants, and it's not actually the investor themselves calling you, it's their virtual assistant. So if they don't know what to say to you, or they have a little bit of an accent or whatever, just keep in mind you're not talking to the investor. There's nothing wrong with these VAs. Are fantastic. They're just intelligent. They're just hard workers. They're amazing. But if they're not the investor, and they're not going to understand maybe the lane you're trying to go down with them as far as networking. But you can try to get contact information from them, but otherwise take what you can get, and just keep in mind that they're probably wholesalers already. And okay, good. I hope Ann says thanks. So hopefully I understood her question right. And Dwayne says, when the courts open up, go down on eviction day and you might find motivated sellers. That's a great idea. The people doing the evictions, right? So, Dwayne, that's just such a great idea. And I love this specific idea, but even if you can't go down on eviction day or whatever, or you're not comfortable doing that or whatever, like just go to real estate investor meetings. Cause I mean, I've got evictions going on. I have rentals, like so many of us who are there are dealing with, some of these issues as far as non-paying tenants. And it's not just because of COVID. Okay. COVID is sort of like the hot topic about it these days, but I promise you, before COVID started, there were tired landlords. There's going to be tired landlords after evictions start. You can always find a tired landlord. Sad to say, but it's not sad to say in the fact that you can help them as a wholesaler. And there's so many investors I work with. They know exactly what I do, but they're motivated. Whatever property X, they're over it. They don't want to deal with it. They want to just someone else to take that ball and run with it. So why not let it be you? You know what I'm saying? And you don't have to worry about, do they understand what I'm doing? Yes, they do. They're investors. They know that you're a wholesaler. So that's just such a great way to find leads. It is to talk to landlords at all, because they might have a portfolio of 50 properties. I find this all the time. I'll talk to someone who's got 10, 20, 50 properties. And yeah, they're big stuff and they've got it all figured out. I still always ask them the same question every time. Do you just have one or maybe two properties that you're just over it? What's your worst property? Maybe I can help you move it. And I just see what they say. Because lots of times people have something boarded up that they haven't touched for 6 months and they're sick of it. And they got 49 others that are doing great or whatever. So there's always these conversations that you can have. So great idea, Dwayne. I love it. And we'll start wrapping up, guys, but I'll go over a couple more. And then I don't want to keep anybody too late, but Brenda says she receives letters and phone calls and texts every day wanting to buy her house that she lives in. I ask them if I can put their names down on the list of buyers. They do not respond. Probably because they're wholesalers and they're not in buyers, Brenda, I guess. And again, I think you're probably talking, if you're on the phone, even the texting, if it's the wholesaler themselves doing it, they might be very new and just, man, if it goes off script, I just see so many new folks kind of abandon a conversation when it kind of goes off script. Don't do that. Just be yourself, keep talking, build a relationship, right? But otherwise, it's probably a VA, and they're not really trained to go off script. And if you think about it, guys, it makes sense. So for those of you who get some of these calls and stuff, like my dad doesn't understand any, he doesn't do this, but he does own one rental property because it was like the house next door to where he used to live, and that neighbor sold it to him for a deal, and he wanted to control the neighbor, one of those deals. And I was talking to my dad like a month or two ago, and he lives in Texas, and the property's here in Edwardsville. And I said something like, I just got done driving for dollars. Oh, what's that, honey? Oh, well, it's where I blah, blah, blah. And I find houses and he goes, is that what these people are doing who call me? These scammers? And he just kind of gets like sitting there in my car laughing because I'm like, that's me, right? And so I just say, hey, I go, Dad, hold on. Scammers, who's scamming you? Are they asking for your social security number? Well, no. I'm like, okay, are they knocking on your door and forcing their way in? Well, no, they just call me and ask me if I want to sell my house. I say, okay, Dad, if you say no, do they get off the phone? He's like, well, yeah. I'm like, Dad, it's just marketing. It's cold calling. It's just, and what I explained to him was, Dad, there's a reason why people do this all day long. It's because it works. And they're not looking for you because your answer is that no, you're not wanting to sell your house. But I promise you, the reason why they're making these calls at all is because they find people who say, as a matter of fact, yes. I'm so glad this happens. I mean, I wouldn't believe it if I didn't see it for myself. People are like, oh my gosh, I've been waiting for someone like you. And when you can help someone in that situation and you see how some of this stuff can roll into your lap, then that's when you really become a believer. So for any of you who are getting, contacted by these people, I know it gets frustrating if you're not wanting to sell, but just keep in mind, they're just trying to eke out a living, just like the rest of us in whatever business, we're in. And, as long as they get off the phone when you tell them no, I don't see what the harm is. They're probably not going to be in buyers for you, but you never know. I would say just continue to try to make contacts where you can. But Brenda, if they don't respond, it's just because they're like a VA or they don't know what to do, how to have that conversation. But it's awesome that you're asking them if you can connect with them. So, and then I got the question, who does my skip tracing? Well, there's a skip tracing feature in the Deal Machine app. So I just pay 20 cents and I get all kinds of addresses and phone numbers. There's probably hundreds, I don't know. There's hundreds of ways to skip trace. Let me tell you all real fast about a free way that's very good. I've used it so many times. I still use it when I have just one or two to look into. But there's a website called truepeoplesearch.com. And it's free. You just have to kind of bang it out on your keyboard, right? But you can like look up addresses, names. You can basically find people's emails and phone numbers by searching addresses or their name, where towns. You'll see the website's simple. Don't let me make it sound difficult because it's super simple. And that's the way you can go and you can find potential phone numbers for people. And you can even find a list of relatives and things like that. Now, it can get awkward sometimes when you're making these calls and trying to find people. And I've had conversations with people before. How'd you get my number? I just tell them. I've told people before, truepeoplesearch.com. Like, I'm not hiding anything. I don't want them to be scared of me, right? If I get some poor older person on the phone and they literally sound scared, I'll just say, I'm sorry. I'm not here to bother you. I found a number on truepeoplesearch.com. I'm going to get off the phone because I'm not trying to upset you at all. Thank you for your time, blah, blah, blah. So, but yeah, you can definitely find phone numbers really easily. You can do it quickly by paying for it through any number of services. If you don't have any spare money, try truepeoplesearch.com. And I tell you what, it's worth it when you get a hold of people that are looking for you. I say, we're looking for the people who are looking for us, right? So it's worth it. And how many people do I skip trace per week? It just depends on how many like new leads I hunt down. This particular week, I've done like no driving for dollars, so 0. Last week, I think I went out 3 times, so probably 60, because I try to do about 20 or more a drive. So it just depends. But you can skip trace, like you can go out and buy these lists that people buy, and you can skip trace entire lists of 500 people in a matter of minutes. It's just done. And you might pay 14 cents for each, So skip tracing is amazing. It's inexpensive. It works. But once you skip trace it, that's the easy part. Someone's got to pick up that phone. So whether that's you or you hire somebody or whatever, that's where, there's all kinds of other aspects to that. Just make sure you or someone is making use of that list, because skip tracing is easy. All right. So I feel like I've bombarded and hopefully
You're wearing out your voice there, Laura.
yeah, but I mean, hopefully this helped. Hopefully, I love all the questions. It just,
Yeah.
I never have to worry. I had like a something to start us off with out of this book I read. I never even got to it, which is no big deal. But I just love how interactive this stuff is, and I appreciate everybody so much. And I just want to make sure I reiterate that like my style is my style. There are people out there that do so much more than I do in terms of number of deals. They've scaled much bigger. I am at where I'm at, you know, for any number of reasons. I've seen a lot more success the last few years, so I know I'm getting better all the time. But, you know, just there's so many people out there who are just really wonderful resources. And I just encourage everyone to meet as many people in this space as you can and get to know who's who, because we've all just got so much value to add in all sorts of ways.
Okay, I see one last question. Thank you. And Nicole's asking, what book are you reading? What's the book you?
Oh, I don't. So I love to read books. Okay. Gosh, I wish I could get paid to read books. I guess I could if I was an editor, but anyway.
You just picked up a book. Is that the book you're reading?
Yes, and I don't like it.
Oh, you don't like it? Okay, that's fine.
I don't like it that much. Has anybody read The Road Less Stupid? I mean, I'm going to stick with it because I'm in a book club, and and that's good. I mean, it's a little condescending for me. Sometimes I think he gets a little negative, but there's tons of nuggets in here that are good. Yeah, anyway, The Road Less Stupid is what I'm reading right now. But there's so many just amazing books. I'd say for anyone who's trying to grow their business in any which way, what's been key for me was not necessarily the technical aspects. It was making sure that I was developing myself as a person. When I made sure to like feed myself and like educate myself on mindset, on psychology and things like that, then that's when my business really started to grow. And it wasn't because I found some magic contract. That was never what it was. It was getting in here, facing my fears, and a lot of that encouragement has come from books and finding people that inspire me on the internet, on YouTube, and all kinds of resources. So find those people that inspire you, find ways to push yourself out of your comfort zone, because no matter what business you're in, I'm telling you, to me, that's the key to success. That's the magic. And all the rest of it, you'll figure it out. So.
Well, thank you, Laura. Really appreciate it. I'm sure all of our members do too. I mean, we got always have a lot of questions when we open up to one of our own members. Everybody wants to know, hey, what are you doing? How are you doing it? So no, we really appreciate you taking your time this evening to share your stories with us.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
And thank you for saying yes when John asked you if you'd come on tonight.
I know. He asks me all the time. I don't even know what group I'm talking to half the time. I did tonight though. So yeah, hopefully it's not the same people that hear me every time. That's what I'm always worried about.
Awesome. You always do a great job. You always have something new you're working on. You're such an inspiration. We really appreciate it, Laura.
Thanks, John. Thank you.
Okay, and for everybody else, we're going to get together on the third Tuesday of next month at this time, same time, 7 o'clock. It's the 15th of June. Jan Duke is going to be our featured speaker then. And as usual, if you're keeping up with the legals, if you're a landlord and you got some tenants that are behind and you're getting ready to do an eviction maybe, we have our legal update with Kathy Davis on Fridays. This Friday coming up at 11 o'clock is our next one. So please tune in for there. The links to those get registered are on our website, stlria.com, or search for us on Meetup, STLRIA. We'll have links on both of those. Okay, unless you got anything else, John, I'm going to sign off for our group tonight. Thank you for joining St. Louis Real Estate Investors for our May 18th meeting, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you all.
Take care.